Karen Whitfield's measuring tape snapped back with the force of a rubber band, leaving a red welt across her palm as she stood beside the community pool at 6:47 a.m., 17 inches. She shrieked to no one in particular, her voice echoing off the empty pool deck. The inflatable flamingo bobbing innocently in the deep end was 17 inches too tall, according to Section 4.27 of the Sunset Meadows HOA handbook, and Karen would die before she let this flagrant violation slide. The second shock came when she spotted Mrs. Chen's grandson doing cannonballs, actual cannonballs, while wearing swim trunks that were clearly navy blue instead of the approved midnight azure specified in the pool attire guidelines. Karen's eye twitched as she fumbled for her phone, taking 17 photos from different angles as evidence. But the third and most egregious violation nearly gave her a heart attack. Someone had placed a beach umbrella in Section C4 of the pool area, which was clearly designated as a sun zone in the 847-page community handbook she'd helped write. Karen clutched her clipboards so hard her knuckles went white. Emergency HOA meeting. She barked into her phone, speed-dialing board president Tom Rodriguez. "We have a code red situation at the pool." Tom's groggy voice crackled through the speaker. "Karen, it's not even 7 a.m. on a Saturday. The integrity of our entire community is at stake, Tom. I'm documenting everything. Someone needs to be held accountable." Karen had been the self-appointed community standards enforcer for 3 years, ever since the great mailbox incident of 2021, when she'd successfully lobbied to have the Johnsons' slightly off-white mailbox repainted. Her reputation as the neighborhood watchdog was legendary, and she wore it like a badge of honor. As families began arriving for the community pool day, Karen positioned herself at the entrance with her clipboard, measuring tape, and a laminated copy of the pool rules. She'd worn her most official-looking outfit, a beige pantsuit with her HOA board member pin prominently displayed, despite the fact that she wasn't actually on the board. "Excuse me," she called to the Martinez family as they approached with their pool gear. "I need to inspect your flotation devices for compliance violations." Mr. Martinez paused, his arms full of pool noodles and inflatable rings. "I'm sorry, what?" "Pool toys must be approved colors only. No neon, no patterns, no characters. It's all in Section 4.7. Karen flipped through her clipboard with theatrical precision. "That purple unicorn float your daughter is carrying? Definitely not approved." Little Sophia Martinez's face fell as she hugged her unicorn tighter. "But Daddy, you said we could use it today." The confrontation drew stares from other families, but Karen felt energized by the attention. This was her moment to show everyone what real community leadership looked like. She'd spent years studying every clause, every subsection, every footnote of the HOA guidelines, and today she'd finally have the chance to implement them properly. What Karen didn't realize was that her zealous enforcement was about to turn the peaceful community pool day into something resembling a small-scale civil war, with herself as the unlikely general of a one-person army. By 10 a.m., Karen had already issued 14 violation notices, confiscated 3 non-compliant pool toys, and established what she called a checkpoint system at the pool gate. Her folding table now displayed a handwritten sign: "All POL items sub GCT to inspection, no exceptions." The breaking point came when she approached the Chen family's poolside barbecue setup. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to move that grill," Karen announced, wielding her measuring tape like a sword. "You're encroaching on the designated walkway by 4.5 inches. Mrs. Chen looked up from flipping burgers, sweat beading on her forehead. "We've been setting up here for the community pool day for 5 years. No one's ever—" "Well, someone's never been properly enforcing the rules," Karen interrupted, making a show of photographing the grill's position. Section 6.32 clearly states that cooking apparatus must maintain a minimum 6-foot clearance from pedestrian pathways. "Lady, you're blocking our kids from getting to the pool," called out Mr. Rodriguez, balancing his toddler on his hip. "Count this weight." Karen spun around, her eyes blazing. "The safety and order of this community cannot wait. Mr. Rodriguez. What if someone trips? What if there's an emergency evacuation? These rules exist for a reason. The crowd was growing restless. Parents whispered among themselves while children whined about being unable to use their favorite pool toys. Karen felt their resistance like a physical force, but it only strengthened her resolve. Karen nodded, then surprised everyone by picking up Emma's rainbow pool noodle and handing it back to her. I suppose rainbow is technically a spectrum of approved colors, she said with a small smile. The crowd began to disperse, families returning to their interrupted fun. Karen started packing up her enforcement station, but Tom stopped her. You know, we could use someone with your attention to detail on the actual HOA board, he said. Maybe channel that energy into something more collaborative. Karen looked up, hope flickering in her eyes. Really? We have an opening for secretary. It's mostly organizing meetings, maintaining records, ensuring proper procedures. Proper procedures? Karen repeated, a genuine smile spreading across her face. I do love proper procedures. As the afternoon wound down, Karen found herself actually enjoying the pool day. She'd helped Mrs. Chen adjust her grill to the proper distance, which happened to be exactly where it had been originally, assisted with lost pool toys, and even supervised an impromptu diving contest with official-sounding rules she made up on the spot. But as she packed up her things, she noticed something troubling. The community bulletin board by the pool gate was missing its scheduled maintenance updates, and someone had posted a garage sale notice without the required HOA approval stamp. Karen fingered her measuring tape thoughtfully. Maybe being HOA secretary wouldn't be so different from her current role after all. The war might be over, but Karen Whitfield's vigilant watch over Sunset Meadows was just beginning to evolve. If you all spent half as much time reading the community guidelines as you do complaining about them, we wouldn't have this problem, she declared, climbing onto a pool chair to address the gathering crowd. I'm trying to protect our property values, our community standards, our way of life. That's when 8-year-old Timmy Henderson made his fateful decision. Fed up with Karen's confiscation of his shark-shaped kickboard, he grabbed it from her table and made a run for the pool. Karen lunged after him, clipboard in hand, just as Timmy jumped. The splash was spectacular. Karen's pantsuit was immediately soaked, her carefully styled hair hung in wet strings, and her laminated rule sheets floated around her like soggy lily pads. The entire pool deck went silent except for the gentle sound of dripping water. For a moment, Karen stood there in the shallow end, water up to her waist, her authority literally and figuratively all wet. The crowd held its collective breath. Then something unexpected happened. Instead of exploding in rage, Karen began to laugh. Not her usual tight-lipped, controlled chuckle, but a genuine belly-deep laugh that seemed to surprise even her. Well, she said, wringing out her clipboard, I suppose this counts as a violation of the no street clothes in pool rule. The tension broke like a dam. Children giggled, parents smiled, and for the first time all morning, the atmosphere felt genuinely festive. Mrs. Chen offered Karen a towel, and even Timmy looked sheepish about his rebellion. But Karen's moment of humanity was short-lived. As she climbed out of the pool, she noticed something that made her blood run cold. Someone had hung a banner reading, "Welcome to Pool Day," without proper HOA approval. The banner wasn't centered according to the aesthetic guidelines, and worse, it was blocking her view of the pool area's section markers. Her wet hair dripping, Karen retrieved a dry violation notice from her waterproof folder. The war wasn't over, it was just getting started. By noon, the Sunset Meadows community pool had become a battleground of wills. Karen, now wearing a borrowed t-shirt and shorts, both violations of her personal dress code, had recruited her neighbor Dorothy Phelps as a temporary enforcement deputy. Together, they'd established what Karen called Operation Pool Compliance. This is ridiculous, Karen. Tom Rodriguez finally arrived, still in his weekend golf attire. As HOA board president, he'd fielded 17 angry phone calls in the past hour. You're ruining the community pool day. Karen stood dripping but defiant beside her soggy table of confiscated items. I'm saving it. Look around, Tom. Do you see the chaos? The disorder? Someone brought a radio that's playing music above the approved decibel level. The Hendersons set up their umbrella 3 degrees off the designated alignment. And don't get me started on the dress code violations. Karen, these are families trying to enjoy a Saturday, Tom said, his voice strained with patience. This is supposed to be fun. Fun? Karen's voice rose to a pitch that made nearby dogs look up. Fun doesn't maintain property values. Fun doesn't preserve community standards. When the next HOA inspection comes around and we fail because of fun, don't come crying to me. The confrontation had drawn every family at the pool. Children pressed against their parents' legs, sensing the adult tension. Mrs. Chen still held her spatula like a weapon. Even the teenagers had looked up from their phones. That's when 6-year-old Emma Sullivan stepped forward, clutching her banned rainbow pool noodle. Mrs. Karen, she said in that fearless way only children can manage, why are you so angry all the time? The question hit Karen like a physical blow. She looked around at the faces surrounding her, frustrated parents, disappointed children, her fellow neighbors treating her like a common enemy rather than the community guardian she believed herself to be. I'm not angry, Karen said, but her voice cracked. I'm just trying to. I just want everything to be perfect. But it's not perfect when everyone's upset, Emma replied with devastating childhood logic. The silence that followed was broken only by the gentle lap of pool water against the sides. Karen felt something shift inside her chest, a tight coil she hadn't realized she'd been carrying for years. She looked at her clipboard, then at the pile of confiscated pool toys, then at the faces of her neighbors. Slowly, she began distributing the toys back to their young owners. The thing is, she said quietly, not looking at anyone in particular, my husband used to say I cared too much about the wrong things. Maybe he was right. Tom stepped forward. Karen, we all appreciate your dedication to the community, but maybe we could find a balance.